will suffer from fits of nausea, bouts of anxiety, upset stomach, heart palpitations, then come on back to the Dream Theater. It'll cure all that ails you.
Slide na. Oh, your shoes. Go na. Panda. Sige na, akit na. Akit na. Bilisan mo. Basta malalaglag na tayo. Bilisan mo na. Yay! Airplane yan. Wow, sakay ka na sa airplane. Sit ka na dun. Ay, captain. Sit na. Airplane to. Lipat na tayo. O, press mo na, press. O, then press. No.
Many years ago, there was an emperor.
What is this emperor business? I am King Julian.
This emperor, king, considered himself the bravest, smartest, kindest, and most stylish ruler of all.
Not gonna lie, all true. Especially the stylish one.
Time passed merrily in the kingdom of Madagascar, when one day several strange black and white creatures arrived in King Julian's court.
Why do I feel like I've met these guys before?
The strangers marveled at King Julian's taste in headgear.
That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life.
What you meant to say is that's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. Remember the plan.
How dare you speak to me about plans, Private? I'm in charge here. I make the plan. Status update on the plan, Kowalski.
Successful infiltration into enemy camp, followed by...
Come on.
In fact, the Penguins' plans were not to blow up the king's hats, but to explain to him that his hats were so beautiful, they should be complemented with clothing. King Julian had never heard of such things as clothes, but he agreed he must have some too. The Penguins claimed they could make him a fabric more beautiful and colorful than anything the world had ever seen.
Then all of Madagascar will be able to bask in my clothes.
The Penguins went on to explain that the clothing would have the wonderful property of being invisible to everyone who was extraordinarily simple in character. King Julian thought this sounded wonderful. He might once and for all be able to tell the difference between the wise and the foolish.
Hold up. I already know who is wise. Me. And who is foolish. Anyone not named me.
And so King Julian ordered the immediate clothing construction. The Penguins requested that they be brought all the necessary materials for creating such a fabric.
We're gonna need plenty of fish and plane parts. Anything that can get a steel bird airborne. No reason.
We should probably ask for materials that could be useful in making cloth, sir.
Sidebar Kowalski. If we're gonna escape this war zone, we need a plane, not a new wardrobe.
Roger that, sir. But we also need to make them believe we're actually making the Emperor's new clothes. It's deception, sir. Art of war.
If you weren't in my room and smelled better, I'd kiss you.
And so, the Penguins were given the finest silks and gold threads in all the land with which to make the clothes, along with some fish and plane parts. The Penguins stole away to a very secluded hut, where they worked diligently on the king's new clothes. Or rather, they pretended to work diligently. The Penguins had no plans on ever making anything for the king, for they simply wanted to fix their plane and escape to Monte Carlo. Meanwhile, the king met with his most trusted advisors, Mort and Maurice.
Go and see if you can find out what is happening with the penguins.
Maurice went to see the Penguins at work. Maurice stared on at the empty looms in the room, and for the life of him, he could not see anything. But he remembered that this fabric was invisible to someone who was a simpleton.
So, Maurice, what do you think about it?
Maurice realized if he reported he saw nothing, he may be thought a fool. And so he exclaimed that it was excellent. And he would tell King Julian, without delay, how beautiful they were. The Penguins asked that they have their fish buckets replenished and went back to work on the clothes, which included a lot of eating.
Where is this fabric that shall grace the shoulders and unmentionable parts of my glorious body?
There it is, King Julian. Isn't it marvelous?
I like it.
King Julian found himself in a very curious position indeed, for he saw nothing. But Maurice spoke of the fabric's beauty. Could it be that King Julian was a fool?
Don't be ridiculous. It's the most beautiful thing I've seen since I gazed upon my reflection in my private wading pool. Make my clothes from this fabric immediately. Maurice, get to the party in my honor tomorrow.
There's already one plan.
The Penguins placed their imaginary clothes onto King Julian, who basked in the glory that was King Julian.
Oh, I like this shirt. The fabric is so lightweight. A bit itchy.
Of course, the fabric could not have been itchy, since there were no clothes actually being put on King Julian. It was more likely fleas were itching him.
I do not have fleas.
And with that, the penguin stole off into the trees. And King Julian walked the jungle of Madagascar while all those around him, wanting to please the king, spoke of how beautiful the emperor's new clothes were. Until suddenly, a lone voice called out, remarking how the emperor was, in fact,
Naked! He's naked! The emperor has no clothes!
Who would dare question my authority and grandeur?
it was Mort. For in his innocence and simplicity, Mort was simply unable to pretend the emperor was wearing anything. Everyone realized Mort was right. The emperor has no clothes. Even King Julian began to realize he had been duped. But his pride forced him to pretend he knew all along. And the emperor went back to the business of being King Julian.
Okay, everyone!